The arrogance of the Zifferon Empire. The observation deck of the International Space Monitoring Station fell silent as the sensors began screaming warnings. Dr. James Chen stared at his screen, his coffee mug frozen halfway to his lips. 43 massive objects had just appeared at the edge of the solar system, moving at impossible speeds toward Earth. "Get me Director Okonkwo," Chen said quietly, his voice tight with controlled panic. "We have a situation." Within minutes, every space agency on Earth was looking at the same data. The objects were ships, each one larger than 3 aircraft carriers combined. They moved in perfect formation, slowing as they approached Mars' orbit. Their design was unlike anything humanity had ever imagined. Crystalline structures wrapped around metallic cores, pulsing with energy that made human sensors flicker and fail. In Geneva, Director Sarah Okonkwo stood before a wall of screens showing the approaching fleet. Around her, representatives from every nation gathered in the Emergency Operations Center. The room hummed with frantic communication as militaries worldwide went to high alert. "They are slowing down," announced Lieutenant Yuki Tanaka from her station, "entering high Earth orbit in approximately 40 minutes. "Have they attempted communication?" Okonkwo asked. "Nothing on any frequency we are monitoring. The ships took position around Earth like predators circling prey. They maintained perfect geometric spacing, creating a web of vessels that covered every approach to the planet. From the ground, billions of people looked up at the night sky and saw points of light that had not been there an hour before." Then the transmission began. Every screen on Earth flickered. Television broadcasts cut out. Computer monitors went dark for 3 seconds before displaying the same image. A face appeared, humanoid but distinctly alien. The being had pale purple skin stretched tight over sharp features. 4 eyes arranged in a diamond pattern stared out from the screen. When it spoke, the voice was translated into every human language simultaneously. "Inhabitants of the 3rd planet, I am Commander Zelvar of the Zifferon Empire. Your world has been evaluated and designated as Resource Harvest Zone 743. Under Galactic Decree 47, all primitive species must vacate resource zones when claimed by superior civilizations." In the operations center, Okonkwo felt her blood run cold. Around the world, the message continued. "You have 48 of your hours to evacuate your major population centers. We will harvest the minerals, water, and biological materials from these locations. Comply and your species will be relocated to designated survival reservations. Resist and you will be removed by force. This is not a negotiation. This is an announcement of inevitability." The transmission ended as suddenly as it began. For 10 seconds, the world held its breath. Then chaos erupted. Okonkwo grabbed her communicator. "Get me Ambassador Martinez. Get me every world leader. We need an emergency United Earth Coalition summit in the next hour." Ambassador Helena Martinez had spent 20 years in diplomatic service, but nothing had prepared her for this. She stood in the emergency assembly hall as holographic projections of world leaders appeared around the circular table. Chinese Premier Li Wei spoke first, his voice cutting through the panicked conversations. "We must attempt communication. There has to be room for negotiation." President Jennifer Foster of North America shook her head. "Did you hear that transmission? They called us primitive. They think we are animals to be relocated." "Then we show them we are not," said Prime Minister Adeyemi of the African Union. "We have weapons. We have militaries." Russian President Volkov laughed bitterly. "Have you seen those ships? Our most advanced missiles would barely scratch their hull plating." Martinez raised her hand and the room quieted. "We need to try diplomacy first. If we attack, they have justification for violence. Let me open a channel." The attempt took 3 hours. Human scientists worked frantically to match the transmission frequency the Zifferon had used. Finally, they established a connection. Martinez stood alone in the communications chamber, knowing billions watched her. "Commander Zelvar, I am Ambassador Helena Martinez, representing the United Earth Coalition. We request immediate negotiations regarding your claims on Earth." The response came quickly. Zelvar appeared on the screen, and this time he was not alone. Behind him stood other Zifferon, their 4 eyes watching with what could only be described as amusement. "Negotiations?" Zelvar's mouth twisted into something resembling a smile. "You misunderstand your position, primitive. The strong do not negotiate with the weak. The advanced do not bargain with the backward. You have resources we require. You will provide them." Martinez kept her voice steady. "Earth is home to 8 billion people. We have rights to our own planet, rights? Selvar laughed, and the sound was like grinding metal. Rights are granted by power. You have no power. You have primitive rockets that barely leave your atmosphere. You have weapons that could not penetrate our shields. You have the arrogance of ignorance. We are not ignorant, Martinez said quietly. And we are not weak, no? Selvar leaned forward. Then allow me to demonstrate the difference between your species and mine. The transmission ended. Okonkwo's voice came through Martinez's earpiece. Helena, get out of there. We are detecting energy buildups on multiple Zifferon ships. Martinez ran for the exit as alarms began screaming throughout the facility. Around the world, military installations tracked targeting systems locking onto coordinates in the Pacific Ocean. The Zifferon fleet opened fire. 12 uninhabited islands in the South Pacific became targets. The plasma weapons hit with the force of nuclear explosions but without the radiation. The energy beams carved through rock and water like a knife through paper. Coral atolls that had existed for millions of years simply ceased to exist. The ocean boiled where the islands had been, creating steam clouds visible from space. Satellites captured everything in horrifying detail. The strikes lasted exactly 90 seconds. When the weapons powered down, there were 12 new holes in the Pacific Ocean floor, each one a perfect circle 5 kilometers across. Selvar's face appeared on screens worldwide again. This is what resistance earns you. Those were uninhabited locations, a demonstration of mercy. Continue your defiance and we will select inhabited targets. You have 46 hours remaining. Use them wisely. In cities across Earth, riots broke out. Some people demanded surrender. Others called for war. Most simply panicked, trying to flee to anywhere that felt safe. Governments struggled to maintain order as the reality of their situation became clear. In the operations center, Okonkwo stared at the satellite footage of the destroyed islands. The precision was terrifying. The power was overwhelming, and the casual cruelty in Selvar's voice suggested he would not hesitate to do the same to populated areas. What are our options? She asked quietly. Military advisors from every nation presented the same analysis. Earth's most advanced weapons could not reach the Zifferon ships. The aliens controlled the high ground of orbit. They could strike anywhere on the planet with impunity. Conventional military resistance was suicide. Then we surrender? Someone asked. Never. The voice came from the back of the room. Everyone turned to see an elderly man in a military uniform walking forward. General Marcus Reed had retired 5 years ago, but something in his eyes suggested he had never really left service. Who authorized your presence? Okonkwo demanded. Protocols you are not aware of, Reed said calmly. Protocols that were activated the moment those ships entered our system. He placed a data chip on the table. Director, you need to see this. All of you do. The chip contained files encrypted with codes that made Okonkwo's security officers pale. When they finally accessed the data, the room fell silent. This is impossible, whispered Premier Li Wei. This is real, Reed corrected. And it has been real for 30 years. The files showed weapons that should not exist, ships that should not fly, technology that Earth should not possess. The project had a name, displayed at the top of every document, Project Valkyrie. For 3 decades we have prepared for this exact scenario, Reed explained. Every nation contributed. Every military secretly diverted resources. We knew that first contact might not be friendly. We knew we might face a species that saw us as inferior. Where are these weapons? Okonkwo asked. Hidden, camouflaged. Scattered across the solar system in locations the Zifferon cannot detect with their scans. President Foster leaned forward. Why were we not informed? Because the project required absolute secrecy. If our own people knew, eventually our enemies would know. And if our enemies knew, the technology would spread. We needed the element of surprise. Martinez stared at the specifications scrolling across her screen. These capabilities, if this is real, we could fight back. We can do more than fight back, Reed said. We can win. But we need time. 72 hours minimum to activate all systems and position our forces. We have 46 hours, Okonkwo pointed out. Then we buy more time. Reed looked at Martinez. Ambassador, you need to stall them. Make them believe we are considering surrender. Make them overconfident. Make them careless. And if they attack during that time? Premier Li Wei asked. Reed's expression hardened. Then we activate everything immediately and hope it is enough. But if we do this right, If we make them believe they have already won, they will give us the time we need. The decision was made. Earth would appear to surrender while secretly preparing for war. Martinez would negotiate, delay, and buy precious hours. Meanwhile, across the planet and throughout the solar system, humanity would wake up weapons that had been sleeping for 3 decades. Commander Zelvar watched Earth from his flagship, the Dominant Fist. His tactical officer reported increased communication traffic from the planet below. "They are panicking," the officer said with satisfaction. "Multiple nations are arguing about surrender terms." "As expected," Zelvar replied. "Primitives always fracture under pressure. They lack the unity of superior species. Send another message. Tell them we are graciously extending their deadline by 24 hours. Let them think we can be reasonable. Is that wise, Commander?" "The Council ordered swift harvest." "The Council is not here," Zelvar said dismissively. "They see only data and projections. I see opportunity. Let the primitives scramble and beg for a few more hours. It amuses me. And when they finally surrender, they will be broken, compliant, easier to manage in the reservations." The officer nodded and sent the message. Neither of them noticed the faint energy signatures appearing at the edge of their sensor range, dismissed by their computers as background radiation from the system's asteroid belt. Neither of them questioned why Earth's communication traffic had suddenly become encrypted with algorithms their systems could not break. The Zipharon had made their first mistake. They had given humanity time, and humanity needed only one thing to be dangerous: time to prepare. Deep in a crater on the far side of Earth's moon, ancient systems began to wake up. In asteroid mining stations scattered throughout the belt, weapons that looked like industrial equipment powered on. On Mars, beneath the surface of Olympus Mons, something vast stirred in the darkness. Earth's response was coming. And the Zipharon had no idea what they had awakened. Humanity's hidden arsenal. 71st hour after the Zipharon arrival marked a turning point that Commander Zelvar would later realize with bitter clarity. He stood on the bridge of Dominant Fist, reviewing reports of Earth's pathetic surrender negotiations. The humans had begged for more time to evacuate their cities. They had pleaded for mercy. They had shown exactly the weakness Zelvar expected from primitives. "Status of harvest preparations?" he asked his engineering officer. "All extraction systems ready, Commander. We can begin mining operations on your command. The primitive population centers we have designated will be cleared within 6 hours once we start." Zelvar nodded with satisfaction. 43 Zipharon ships against 1 primitive planet. This would be the easiest harvest in the Empire's history. His superiors would praise his efficiency. Perhaps he would even receive commendation for the speed of his conquest. "Commander," the tactical officer's voice cut through his thoughts. "I am detecting energy spikes at multiple locations throughout the system." "Elaborate." "Unknown signatures, sir." They appeared simultaneously. 17 locations around the asteroid belt, 4 on the planetary moon, 1 beneath the surface of the 4th planet. Zelvar frowned. "The humans are attempting some kind of coordinated action." "Scan those locations." "What are we looking at?" The sensors focused on the nearest signature, a position in the asteroid belt that had registered as a simple mining station. What the screen showed made the tactical officer lean closer in confusion. "Sir, that mining station is reconfiguring. The structure is changing shape." On the screen, the asteroid station unfolded like a mechanical flower. Panels that had appeared to be solar collectors rotated and locked into new positions. What emerged was no mining equipment. It was a weapons platform larger than any Zipharon destroyer, bristling with systems that made the ship's identification computers flash warnings. "That is impossible," Zelvar whispered. "Those primitives do not have that technology." "Commander, the other locations are doing the same thing." "They were all camouflaged. They were all hidden." On Earth, General Marcus Reed stood in the command center that had been built beneath the Rocky Mountains. Around him, operators from every nation worked at their stations. Overhead screens showed the Zipharon fleet's positions and the activation status of Valkyrie project assets. "All platforms report ready," announced Colonel Sarah Kim from Tactical. "Lunar batteries charged. Mars facility at 97%, fleet units emerging from concealment." Reed allowed himself a thin smile. "Send the message to Commander Zelvar. Let him know his harvest has been canceled." The transmission reached Dominant Fist 30 seconds later. The screen showed not Ambassador Martinez but General Reed in full military uniform. Behind him stood representatives from every Earth military, their expressions unified in grim determination. Commander Zelvar, this is General Marcus Reed of the United Earth Defense Force. We have received your harvest announcement. We are formally rejecting it. You have 1 hour to leave our solar system. After that, any Zipheron vessel remaining will be considered hostile and engaged with lethal force. Zelvar stared at the screen in disbelief before bursting into laughter. His bridge crew joined him. The absurdity of the threat was too much. These primitives thought they could threaten the Zipheron Empire? General Reed, Zelvar said through his laughter, you amuse me. Did you not see what we did to your islands? Did you not understand the demonstration? You have no weapons that can reach us. You have no technology that can challenge us. You are primitives playing at war. Reed's expression did not change. We are primitives who have been preparing for 30 years. We are primitives who have been waiting for someone exactly like you. Commander, you made a critical error. You assumed we showed you everything we had. More bluffing, Zelvar said dismissively. You think we did not scan your planet? We know your capabilities. You have chemical rockets and primitive nuclear weapons, toys compared to our arsenal. You scanned what we wanted you to see, Reed replied. You saw industrial sites and military bases. You saw cities and infrastructure. You never looked deeper. You never questioned why certain mining stations in our asteroid belt required so much power. You never wondered why we maintained a research facility under the largest mountain on Mars. You were so certain of our primitiveness that you never considered we might be capable of deception. Something in Reed's tone made Zelvar's amusement fade. Tactical full system scan. Every location in this system. I want to know what they are hiding. The scans revealed the truth in horrifying detail. The 17 asteroid stations had fully reconfigured. They were not mining platforms. They were railgun batteries, each one capable of accelerating projectiles to 20% of light speed. The lunar installations had emerged from beneath the moon's surface. Massive energy weapons powered by fusion reactors that should not exist on a primitive world. And on Mars, beneath Olympus Mons, something enormous was emerging. The mountain itself split open, revealing a construction bay that had been hollowed out over decades. Inside that bay sat ships, 27 human warships, each one built with technology that matched and in some cases exceeded Zipheron capabilities. How? Zelvar demanded. How do they have this? His science officer pulled up analysis. Commander, these technologies match our own in several areas. Some appear to be original human designs. Others show understanding of principles we thought only the Zipheron possessed. They have had these systems hidden for years, possibly decades. Activate all shields, Zelvar ordered. Battle Formation Alpha. We will show these primitives what real military power looks like. The Zipheron fleet moved into combat positioning, their shields glowing with energy. It was an impressive display, a demonstration of power that had cowed 100 species across the galaxy. General Reed watched the alien ships maneuver and nodded to Colonel Kim. They are forming up. Just like we predicted. Activate Phase 1. The lunar weapons fired first. 4 massive energy beams lanced across space, covering the distance between the Moon and Earth orbit in 3 seconds. They hit the shields of the nearest Zipheron ships with the force of small suns. The shields held for exactly 4 seconds before collapsing. The beams carved through the hulls of 2 destroyers like a torch through ice. Impossible, Zelvar shouted as his ships began screaming damage reports. Those beams should not penetrate our shields. Commander, their energy output exceeds our projections by 300%. These are not primitive weapons. The asteroid railgun platforms opened fire next. Tungsten projectiles accelerated to relativistic speeds became kinetic missiles. They did not need to hit directly. At those speeds, passing within 100 meters of a target transferred enough energy to tear hulls apart through sheer physics. 3 more Zipheron ships vanished in explosions as the railgun rounds found their marks. The precision was terrifying. The humans were not firing randomly. Every shot was calculated, every trajectory planned. Return fire, Zelvar commanded. All ships, full offensive barrage. The Zipheron plasma weapons charged and fired, sending waves of superheated energy toward the lunar installations. The weapons were devastating, capable of vaporizing cities. They had never failed to destroy any target. The plasma beams hit the lunar installation shields and dispersed harmlessly. The humans had studied Zipheron weapons for 3 decades. They had learned how to defend against them. Shields holding at 85%, reported the Lunar Command Station. Their plasma weapons are ineffective. Recommend continuing assault pattern. Reed nodded. Activate Phase 2. Release the fleet. The 27 warships launched from Mars, their engines burning with fusion fire. They did not move like human vessels from before. These ships danced through space with impossible agility, their inertial dampeners allowing maneuvers that would have torn apart conventional craft. Commander Vasquez, captain of the lead ship Retribution, smiled as his vessel accelerated toward the Zifferon formation. His crew had trained in secret for 15 years. They knew every Zifferon tactic. They had studied every battle the aliens had ever fought. All ships implement Ghost Wolf formation, Vasquez ordered. Show them what humans learned from fighting each other for 10,000 years. The human fleet split into 3 groups, attacking from different vectors simultaneously. The Zifferon tried to reform their defensive positions, but the human ships moved too fast, changed direction too quickly. It was 3-dimensional combat at a level the Zifferon had never experienced. On Dominant Fist, chaos erupted across the bridge. Multiple targets closing from all angles. Their acceleration curves are impossible. No species has engines this efficient, because they are not using reaction drives, the science officer reported. Commander, they have fusion pulse engines. They are using controlled nuclear explosions for thrust. The radiation signature is unmistakable. Zelvar felt cold certainty settling over him. We were deceived. From the very beginning, we were deceived. A human destroyer, the ship called Defiance, rolled through space in a maneuver no Zifferon vessel could match. It positioned itself beneath a Zifferon cruiser and fired at point-blank range. Electromagnetic pulse missiles detonated against the alien hull, sending cascading waves of energy through the ship's systems. The Zifferon cruiser went dark, its electronics fried. Before it could restore power, 2 more human ships hit it with railgun fire. The cruiser broke apart, atmosphere venting into space. Retreat, Zelvar finally ordered. All ships fall back to emergency jump positions. But the humans had predicted this too. The 17 asteroid platforms had been positioned specifically to cover the most efficient escape vectors. As the Zifferon fleet tried to withdraw, they found their retreat paths blocked by fields of railgun fire. 6 Zifferon ships managed to initiate their faster-than-light drives. They vanished into jump space, abandoning the rest of the fleet. The remaining ships found themselves trapped, surrounded by human vessels that moved like sharks through water. Commander, we have 31 ships remaining, the tactical officer reported. 23 have sustained critical damage. Shields are failing across the fleet. Casualties exceed 40%. Zelvar stared at the tactical display in disbelief. His invincible fleet, the pride of the Zifferon Empire, was being destroyed by primitives. The humans were not supposed to fight like this. They were not supposed to be this prepared. Open a channel, he said quietly. To the human general. Reed's face appeared on the screen. He looked older now, tired, but his eyes held no mercy. Commander Zelvar, are you ready to discuss terms? How? Zelvar asked. How did you develop this technology? How did you hide it? How did you know we were coming? We did not know specifically about the Zifferon, Reed said. But we knew first contact could go badly. We knew that space might be filled with species like yours, species that see other civilizations as resources to be harvested. So we prepared, we built, we hid our best technology behind a facade of primitiveness. Deception is dishonorable, Zelvar said bitterly. Deception is survival, Reed countered. You thought we were weak because we had not reached the stars in force yet. You thought we were primitive because our public technology was limited. You never considered that maybe we were being careful. Maybe we were watching. Maybe we were waiting to see who else was out here before we revealed our capabilities. Another explosion rocked Dominant Fist as a human missile breached the shields. Zelvar steadied himself against his command chair. What are your terms? He asked. Unconditional surrender, Reed said. You will power down all weapons and prepare to be boarded. Your crews will be taken into custody. Your ships will be seized and studied. You will provide complete information about the Zifferon Empire, including the locations of other species you have harvested. The Empire will come for us, Zelvar warned. They will send more ships. Let them come, Reed said. We will be ready. And now we have 31 Zifferon ships to study. By the time your Empire sends reinforcements, we will understand your technology completely. We will be even stronger. Tell your superiors that Earth is not a harvest zone. Earth is a fortress, and humanity is not primitive. We are strategic. Zelvar looked around his bridge at the defeated faces of his crew. He thought of the Empire's arrogance, the assumption that any species without obvious military power was weak. He had made that assumption himself. "We surrender," he said quietly. The battle ended 74 hours after the Zipheron had first arrived. The remaining alien ships powered down their weapons and prepared for boarding. Human marines in advanced armor swept through the vessels, securing systems and taking prisoners. On Earth, celebrations erupted in every city. People danced in streets that had been hours away from evacuation. They looked up at the sky where the captured Zipheron ships hung like trophies. In the command center, Reed allowed himself a moment of exhaustion. Colonel Kim approached with a report. All enemy vessels secured. Casualties on our side were minimal. The Valkyrie systems performed beyond specifications. And the 6 ships that escaped, they will report back to the Zephyrin Empire. They will tell them what happened here. Reed nodded slowly. Good, let the galaxy know. Let every species that thinks humanity is primitive hear this story. Let them know that we were preparing while they assumed we were helpless. Let them know that underestimating humans is a fatal mistake. What do we do now, General? Reed looked at the screens showing the captured ships and the lunar weapons and the fleet that had surprised the galaxy. Now we prepare for the next challenge. First contact happened. It went badly. But we survived, we won, and we learned that we are not alone out here. So we keep building, we keep preparing, and we make sure that no species ever looks at Earth and sees resources to be harvested. They will see a military power that can defend itself. They will see humans. Commander Zelvar was taken into custody along with his officers. As human guards escorted him through the corridors of Dominant Fist, he passed windows showing Earth below. The blue planet that he had thought would be an easy conquest now looked different to him. It looked dangerous. On the surface of that planet lived a species that had spent its entire history fighting itself. They had learned war against opponents just as clever and ruthless as themselves. They had developed weapons to kill their own kind and then turned those weapons against anyone who threatened them. The Zephyrin had attacked expecting primitives. They had found warriors. As the transport ship carried Zelvar toward Earth for interrogation, he composed a message in his mind. A warning he would give to any Zephyron official who would listen. Humanity was not primitive. Humanity was patient. They prepared for threats they had not yet encountered. They hid their true strength behind a mask of weakness. The galaxy had learned something important. When you found a species that had not yet joined the galactic community, you treated them with respect. You negotiated peacefully. You assumed nothing about their capabilities, because the alternative was discovering that the primitives you had dismissed were actually predators who had been watching and waiting. Predators who smiled and showed you exactly what you expected to see, until the moment they bared their teeth. Earth had been attacked. The attackers had thought it would be easy. They had been very, very wrong. And now the entire galaxy would know. Humanity was not primitive. Humanity was dangerous. And humanity remembered every insult, every threat, every attack. The Zephyron had learned this lesson. Others would follow. Some would learn peacefully through diplomacy and trade. Others would learn the hard way, the way the Zephyron had. Either way, the message would spread. Humanity had arrived on the galactic stage, and they had arrived ready for war.